All right. I think we are live. Welcome to another episode 2 of CLS After Dark for this year of our Lord 2026. We have a very special guest tonight. You may have seen him before. I'm wearing his hat, even though the green light, I realize, is hiding all the green light stuff, but it's got my little name on it. But we got Chappy from the Arizona Trail VETS program, and I'm going to bring him on in a second. And if you haven't seen him before, we're just going to do introductions. He's going to tell you a bit about the VETS program. We're going to share some kind of inside baseball, something he and I are both trying to accomplish. And then we're just going to let the conversation go from there. So as always, if you've got questions, please reach out, put some, make a comment. I'll try to keep up with the chat. And, my chat isn't as dynamic as Black Scout Survivals, but it's still hard. I'm trying to look at you in the camera. I got crazy green lights. So just bear with me, you know the deal. But I said I was going to do this, and I got to stick to my guns. But I realized that for the Steve L jokes, starting one, ending with one, I really am just going to keep these over on the live stream because the After Dark might be a little bit too much for daytime, consumption, not suitable for work. So before we bring on Chappy, go, get yourself a drink, an adult cocktail, some cheese and crackers, whatever you do, approximately an hour. We are trying to keep to that. So, hold me to it. But here we go. Here's my joke. I'm reading a horror story in Braille. Something bad is going to happen. I can feel it. But I'm bump. All right. And then I know, just so horrible. And I'm not 100% sure if tonight's going to be a giveaway. So just stay tuned. But we'll have an announcement at least about giveaways. So without further ado, Chappy, sir, are you ready down there?
Ready.
Ready. We're going to bring Chappy on. Oh, wrong view. That's too much for everybody. Too much for people to handle.
Whoa.
There we go. Much better. Oh, look at you. All green screen with stuff behind you. That's cool.
I do. Yeah.
All technologically savvy here.
Thought I'd plug the program a little bit while I'm talking.
And that's the whole point of having you on. So before we do this, sorry, let me just give everybody a quick shout out. We got Gene from across the pond. Woo! Henner Ben from Minnesota. And then we got Learn Me Something ready for episode 2.
Whoop, whoop.
We got Gene. He's actually saying he's from Area 51 tonight. So good on you, Gene. Let's hear a little something about that. I got a chuckle out of Learn Me Something or something did. And then you saying hi to everybody. That's very nice of you. Yeah, leave comments there, my good man.
Thank you. I'll do my best.
Good evening. We got Greg Harriman. Greg, I don't think we've seen you before. Nice to see you, sir. Thanks for joining us. And then last but not least, Matt, AR15 Step. Good evening, crew. Good evening to you, Matt, as well. All right, Chappy, without further ado, why don't you just take a step? Because I think not everybody does know who you are, even you've been on before, but that was, my gosh, that was really a year ago, wasn't it?
Was it really? It's been a year? Holy smokes.
Yeah, holy smokes, right?
Well,
yeah, so go ahead, tell everybody about yourself and your program, and then we'll just kind of flow from there.
Well, first and foremost, thank you, Mark, for having me again. I can recognize some names out there. It's great to see all of you seeing virtually anyway. But yeah, I'm just very honored to have another chance at a platform. And Mark is slowly but surely becoming one of my most favorite people that I've never met in person. I know we need to change that. And that's to be continued, right? Don't want to spoil it.
Right on.
So I have had the privilege, no, let me back up. Obviously the title, we can go into that, but Chappy's the name, and Veterans in the Outdoors on the Arizona National Scenic Trail is the game. I'm a Navy veteran. I've been very fortunate to have fallen into this kind of work for the past, I'm going into my 6th year now with the Arizona Trail Association, running their VETS program, Veteran Engagement and Trail Stewardship. We love our acronyms. And the whole intention of the program is to engage with military veterans and their families in providing opportunities to get out onto specifically the Arizona Trail and find purpose, find meaning, getting dirty, sleeping under the stars, connecting over amazing meals and blood, sweat, and tears. And, I can go into detail, and I'm sure we'll have time over this hour, but the nuts and the bolts is veterans deserve every aspect or every resource, I should say, available to them after they transition out. And more often than not, we would rather not be prescribed something that in the form of a pill. And so programs like mine and many others out there across the nation are doing incredible work at filling those gaps and trying to supplement what either, the private sector healthcare system is doing or the VA is doing in giving an option essentially for holistic outdoor engagements like mine, providing really holistic type of let's call it what it is. It's medicine. Being outside is healthy on so many levels. And so it's been my honor and privilege to, figure out that niche in the Arizona market, if you will. And now I've been very fortunate to have done, over 50 events since the inception, or at least since I came on as the director, and meeting people like you, Mark, like that understand, that are, fellow brother from the military, understanding the mission, tapping into the veteran psyche and giving us an opportunity and a voice to, talk about what matters to us. I think that's why I love your platform so much, because you're not afraid of getting dirty and talking about the things that matter to us. And of course, all of the conversations we had and have and continue to have offline are almost always centered around how we can do better by our veterans and giving them more opportunities that are, quote unquote, untraditional. So I'll stop there, but I think that's a pretty decent intro into who I am, the program, but I'm certainly monitoring the chat as well. And if you guys have any questions out there that I can answer while I'm multitasking here, I am going to say this, since I'm being transparent, I did take a gummy about 2 minutes ago. So if I become incoherent, it's Mark's fault.
I will accept responsibility. That's
perfect.
Fine. That is fine.
Perfect.
Hey, well, okay. Let me just add a couple comments here to what you said, and then see if that compels you to talk a little bit more. Chappy and I have kind of known each other now for not very long. Chappy, what, about 2 years max?
Yep.
Yeah,
I would say that's right.
Like 1.5 years to 2 years max. I don't even know how I stumbled on Chappy, and I just absolutely love the program because I cannot, as a veteran myself, I cannot more strongly advocate for the use of nature and the role nature and more holistic. And there's a different word I'm trying to come up with, and Blackbeard told me about it the other way, just a different style of medicine where you're not being medicated and you're not just having drugs thrown at you. I know in the past when Chappy's on, I've talked about something I saw a couple of years ago on Twitter or Instagram or something, and I'm just going to say it again. It's a veteran, pulled over on the side of the road. He's pulled over. He's in his vehicle doing a car talk thing, but he's like crying and he's very distressed. And he's just talking about the frustration he feels with the VA. And now he's got another doctor and he's got to start it all over again and just go over all the drugs and the drugs that, if you do get prescribed, maybe that gets messed up and maybe that comes into the conversation later. But I just remember commenting, you're not watching, he's not about to have anything. He's in the process of having a breakdown right then and there. You're watching an individual who, gave up a significant part of his life. We don't, and look, and I'm not saying woe is me. This is the same for everybody. Like if you're a hardworking guy or gal, life is tough, period. I know people who've never been in the military and they work jobs where they're working deployment style hours, and it's under, incredible, extreme weather conditions and, dangerous conditions and so it's tough for everybody. But, if we're going to have this contract between the government and the people who are willing to voluntarily saying, hey, look, at the minimum, I'm going to be really happy if I get through this, even a 3-year, 4-year enlistment, with my marriage intact, it just wherever you want to start. I mean, the list just keeps going on. And that's not a woe is us as veterans. I mean, again, as I just said, there's a lot of people who go through the same stuff. Life is tough, but there's a contract there. This is the difference. And there's a contract. The government's saying you're going to give up your life, and you might actually give up your life. And we're going to control you for this period of time. But, but in exchange, we expect you to do this. And then once it's over, we'll do this, and this for you. And that's the contract. And the
Amen.
contract from the VA just never, it's never held, and they don't care. So even, not to get political, but do you think anyone in DC really gives a shit about me and you? No. Doesn't matter what the party is. I'm sick of that kind of crap too. But it's men and women like Chappy who realize it, and maybe it's a veteran thing. And I guarantee there's other programs out there in your community, I hope there are, that you can find where if you're not a veteran, it still provides the same kind of escapes and outlets that don't involve barbiturates and fentanyl-based drugs and all this other kind of stuff. So I really like, because in my humble opinion, this is where I'm going to shut up and turn it back over to Chappy for his program. However I found him, I immediately like, yeah, I like this guy. I like what they're doing, because I didn't have a program like that available for me. And this was me leaving the agency. And you can make all the comments you want, but it's the same thing. I just spent 6 years in combat, and how much nature. I was so blessed and lucky that I have family here. And, that's, there's been property in the family for generations. And I live in a place where there's just nothing but woods and lakes and rivers, so even if you didn't have immediate access to property, you have it everywhere around you. But it was that time in the woods that did it for me. That helped me, my sense of the feeling of betrayal that I had, and just the sheer exhaustion from that was like 30 years of my life at that point. If I wouldn't have been able to get out into Mother Nature, in other words, here's what I'll say, and then I'll bring it to you, Chappy. If I would have lived in a city, if I would have stayed in DC or moved back to Chicago or something like that, I don't know how the dice would have rolled for me. It was nature that helped pull me through. So I love what you're doing writ large. So maybe that's a good segue. Talk a little bit more about the program and, what you see on the trail. And because you're absolutely right. That blood, sweat, and tears. I mean, that is a bonding thing. And anyone who's ever gone through anything of any difficulty with other human beings and pulled through because of teamwork, and what we're talking about. It's the same thing. And that's what it is. So Chappy, can you add a little bit to that, please?
Yeah, I'll try to. That's the intention is, when we leave service, I think the biggest thing that is lacking, other than all of the stuff that we bring with us after serving for how many years we decide to continue, that is the lack of community. Like we're sort of left to our own devices, which is obviously the wrong path, because generally speaking, we don't ask for help. We usually hit the bottle or something else that's, relatively available. And so, in my opinion, humbly, I think we need to, part of the transition assistance program, or TAPS, we need to start prescribing community, and obviously programs like mine that provide that resource, because that's what's really going to hold one accountable, and obviously be in integrity with whatever they're trying to accomplish, right? They're not just in a vacuum. They're not in the dark somewhere. If they have something that, in a buddy, a battle buddy, if you will, in the outside world, I mean, that's what we're all used to. And I think we all, myself included, really relieved of getting out and into the world, and that's exciting and everything. And then you learn pretty quick, people on the outside don't necessarily operate in that same mindset as those that have served. And rightly so, but it's also just the basic connection to just getting along, doing the right thing, doing our jobs, not necessarily being entirely PC. And, it's this weird balance of, like, you're always on the cusp of getting fired, right? But you're never going to, because you got a contract, right? So it's like this fun balance of, like, you're going to fuck up, you're going to learn on the job. Let's say you got some OJT, but there's this bond that forms when you are suffering next to someone else, and you don't necessarily get that same aspect when you transition out into the civilian world. So I digress, but I think my point here is community, connection to community, and inserting into something that may not be your thing, but it might be your thing. Could be my thing, could be I forget the gentleman's name that you had on with me that is doing something similar in your neck of the woods. Might have been in Minnesota or Ohio. Anyway, I'll look it up on social, but the point being,
I think you were talking about the suicide prevention group, 28th Veteran.
Yeah, 28th. Thank
Yeah.
you. Yes, great organization. They're doing amazing work, as you already have said many times over. And we're drawn to things like that we want to see our community succeed. And so the way that we do that is obviously create more opportunities for that kind of engagement. So that kind of segues into the program. How it's designed is there's two prongs. There's the entry level, if you will. It's like this trailhead or base camp style interaction where I'm out, for 4 days with veterans and their families. And we've invited some civilians every once in a while. And I'll touch on that in a minute. But the point is, it's like this very safe, if you need to bail, if it's not your thing, you got a good out, but you can bring everything with you, every nicety. I'm obviously bringing the kitchen sink and whatnot, but they can bring the pillows, the blankies, the whoobies. They can bring, we're not backpacking. This is like car camping special, right? So that's one format. And when we just we roll out the red carpet and we feed everyone really well. We usually have a really good fire ring for everyone to come back to in the evenings and share and talk and bullshit and, do all the things that we remember doing after, in an engagement, you unwind, you have to unwind somehow. And it's sort of akin to that same battle rhythm where we're on the trail, we're working hard. And then we come back to camp and we just relax. True R&R, eat good, sleep good, hopefully. The other prong approach is called the Fox Squad. And this is where Mark, might want to come in.
Well, if you don't mind, I kind of want you to go back to the what you just said about the fire, because that's, it's not just a veteran thing. I mean, there's something about fire, and in Chappy, in your example, we're working our butts off. We're doing, trail improvement or trail maintenance, getting into that manual labor out in the woods that we may have been used to from the military. And then the camaraderie of the campfire. I mean, I really think that's important. And that is, that's so many medical things compressed into one, everything from psychological to physical to food, teamwork and just that spirituality. Can you maybe just before you move on to the Foxfire, just talk about the fire pit part of it a little bit more and why that's important? Because in other words, so you're not just going out there and then going home because you're way out in the woods. So you're providing this.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's like the rhythm usually is we get up early, make coffee. We do like a very continental style breakfast because I've overfed people in the morning, and then they just roll down the trail all day long, and they're like little Oompa Loompas, right? Like it's not a productive way. So you feed them not bare bones, but enough to get a good productive day. And of course, the best trail food or lunch out on the trail is a PB&J. So I have all those fixins for everyone. We go out, we get after it all day. It's usually like a 6 to 7 hour evolution, and there's a lunch built in there as well. But we're taking breaks. It's not like I'm having them charged all day long. It's a good mix of like work hard, take a break, enjoy the splendor of your surroundings, right? So it's like kind of a formula built into that. And then when we get back after a long day, I give people time to unwind. Do a little, spit bath or whatever they need to do to tidy up. And then we meet back for a really robust dinner, Mark. I don't want to spoil it for your viewers, and of course I don't want to spoil it for you, because if you come out, you're going to get spoiled. I mean, it's more common than not. I hear people complaining that they gain weight, even though they're working their asses off, they're gaining weight with the food that I'm bringing out there. But that's part of the love that we show. That's part of the magic. And to bring it full circle, the fire pit is the secret sauce. That is like the touchstone for the remainder of the evening, however long that lasts. And it's just, as time tested, right? It's where we share stories. It's where we share feelings, if that's part of what may transpire around the fire. It's a way for us to convey information. It's also just great to watch and look at. It's nature's TV, man. And so it's just like this. It's truly the magical element, what brings everyone together at the end of the day. And obviously, who doesn't love, like myself, I have a hard time. I'm usually the last one around the pit because I love the embers, man. That's part of, like, the fire is great and getting warm is wonderful, but when the embers are, the fire is done, the flame is gone, those embers are there, that I transfix on those embers. And then of course I got to go to bed and get up early and do it all over again. But it is truly a pleasure to facilitate these kinds of events.
At my original property, that's where I call, this is the bunker, but just the original property is the original bunker. I had a Viking fire pit. I didn't throw in pieces of wood. I threw in 4-foot logs. And just to your point, I mean, there's so many nights where you just go, I shaved my beard a little bit, but you'd have drool in your beard. The fire's done. You just fall asleep watching those embers. It's so therapeutic. Yeah. And before we go into foxfire, then to me, that's super important. It's that physical activity, to what you're capable of, but you're not throwing an 80-pound ruck on your back and going up and down the hills of, Korengal or anything like that. You're not doing a 12-miler for time for your expert infantry badge, any of that kind of stuff. You're still out there working. You got the camaraderie and all that. And of course, what comes that? It's the same thing in the military. If you have a chance, I don't care how badass you think you are, but if you get a chance and if you turn down hot food, even in your MRE, if you turn down the MRE heater, there might be something wrong with you. Just another stupid military story. This is way back in the day. And I remember this guy, and he was former Ranger, and we were trying to figure out the logistics for a training event and trying to make sure we could get water and food to the guys. And he's like, well, they can just eat bark. And I just remember and I kind of was the smart. I'm like, yeah, we could, but Joe doesn't need to do that. We can, as the leadership, we can just figure out, we could cache it. We could just do an admin timeout and the first sergeant just brings it out. I mean, I get it. You want to turn everybody into tough as nails, but is this the moment to do this? And is this the training event to do it? Is that the purpose of what we're doing? And for you, of course it's not. And so therefore that fire pit at the end of the night, unbelievable. That's something I really like, because that's like what the VA misses and they don't understand. They don't even get water therapy and how, my back is so jacked up. And that's from years of jumping off of trucks and tanks and airplanes and rucking and all that kind of crap. And then they don't provide water therapy. Yeah, we don't do that. That's the silliest thing I've ever heard, or like the fire pit. So you're never going to see the VA do this type of community outreach. So that's why I really like your program and any other program like that, especially if it has that fire pit, overnight aspect of it. Yeah, I don't know. Of course, there's always, issue. There's always a potential issue there. I guess I just kind of realized but it shouldn't be. It's a way more, no one should be suffering PTSD and thinking they're on, in a patrol base, Yeah. Well, when was the last time you were on a patrol base and had a fire pit like this and all the grub that you bring in? And he's right. Yeah. He's told me stories, man. I'm old and broken. I just want to go and do it and suffer just so I can get some of the food they provide, in the evening.
Yeah. We've been really fortunate, Mark, just because, like you, there's so many other people that want to contribute in whatever way they can. And, that could be in the form of food, or, we've been honored with music around the fire, live music. Nothing better than digesting food and being serenaded, even if the music's bad. It doesn't matter. You're outside, and these guys and gals are just, they're there. They're fully present, sharing their gifts. I'm always in a state of awe and being humbled by how this format seems to work with so many men and women that have served our country. So it's pretty rad.
And Gene just brought this up. I'm going to plug this real quickly.
Oh yeah.
Somebody even agreed with him, but food, fire, friendship brings out the love of the outdoor campfire TV is what, damn right. I mean, so any final comments on that? Otherwise, let's transition into Foxfire. Firefox.
Yeah, no, I'll be happy to talk about the squad that we're going to be hopefully doing some magic with as well. But the other prong, as I mentioned, that's one aspect. That's sort of the entryway into the program for most people. I also have a very small group of men and women that really like the trail work itself. and want to learn more on being more proficient, almost as a skill set. And so I actually have a contract crew, and behind me here, if you see that great smile, that's George. George is part of what's called the Fox Squad, and that program or initiative within the program was designed to get those individuals more training and do more backpack style or backcountry deferred maintenance projects on parts of the trail that don't normally see maintenance. So it's a really cool opportunity. It's hard, but think about that same format, maybe not the exception of that food. We do bring out sometimes, it's been known, like if I do a Fox Squad hitch around Thanksgiving, some of us, backpack in some steaks and some potatoes, and we do an open pit sort of potluck, which has been glorious in the past. So, but yeah, we're out for 5 days. They get paid a small stipend to come out with me, and the trail wins, they win. And, just think of that same setting around the fire, but maybe you're with, 3 to 5 other guys and gals that are, truly in a remote setting, getting those same afterglows that we're talking about.
That just sounds so, that sounds so awesome. If it wasn't 30 below out, I'd probably want to do that right now. It's not 30 below. Today was only like, about 10 below, but hey, I just realized I made a mistake. We didn't break down the acronym VETS. So it's Arizona Trail VETS. And just what you just said there made me remember that. So it's not just VETS for veterans. Can you explain that? Because that's what the Fox Squad kind of has a lot to do with as well.
Correct. Yeah. Thanks for the reminder. So yeah, as I mentioned maybe before, we love our acronyms. Our veterans love acronyms. So VETS is an acronym for Veteran Engagement and Trail Stewardship. So it kind of beautifully encompasses what we're trying to do in a very quick, and also, obviously it says VETS, so it works both ways. But within that Fox Squad was also designed, and our logo is pretty cool with the Fox Squad. It's a fox head with a shovel and a pickaxe behind it. And the fox, in the phonetic alphabet, is, foxtrot, right? So F is foxtrot. So, but F stands for field work for the Fox Squad. So it's a field work squad, one of the smallest contingents, as you know, Mark, in our military. So it's like kind of combining some of those elements of our past, but also, transforming it into a accessible program format for people that really, like the idea of going out in deeper backcountry immersive experiences.
That would be such a great, I think, opportunity for folks. I'm really surprised Minnesota doesn't have, and maybe it exists and I've just never heard of it, but how there's not a program like that up here. My very first break-in service, when I left active duty the first time, and before I went back into the Army Reserves, the job I did that summer was working for the Minnesota Conservation Corps. And I worked on the Superior hiking trail. And so again, just back to what we're talking about, I'm back in my hometown, a very rural area, and I'm spending all of my time out in the woods every day, just being in nature and, doing the labor that I grew up with as a kid, having to do, making trails, cutting down trees, brushing things out, getting stung by, yellow jackets, ground hornets, all the above, trucking into the trailhead, throwing a chainsaw over my shoulder, a ruck on my back, and then, force marching your way 7 miles to where you just left off the trail from yesterday type of thing. So I absolutely loved it. I think it's absolutely great. And so it just seems like you're providing so many awesome opportunities that so many of our brothers and sisters, probably if given the chance would like to take advantage of. And I know that can cut both ways. Sometimes it's too much and you just, you don't want to be with a group or you don't want to be reminded too much. But I think for a lot of us, and guys and gals in the chat, whether you're here watching us live or if you watch us on demand, leave a comment. Let us know what you think about that. And do you have a program like that in your state? And this is kind of my segue back over to Chappy. Chappy's doing great work. And I think people are waking up to the importance of programs like what Chappy runs. And, so Chappy, do you maybe want to talk a little bit about where you're going in the future and how this is working out. And then maybe that's a good segue to talk about what we're planning on doing, you see where I'm going with that. Yeah.
Yep. Great segue. And in fact, if any of you watching or listening, or, live or otherwise, if you're interested in starting something like this, I'll be more than happy to talk with you, because that's how this grows. It's a very organic, grassroots movement sometimes, that if you just get inspired by someone else and you're like, I could probably do that. Like you just said, Mark, like, why don't we have one? Well, why don't you have one?
I know.
That's a great question. But again, I understand that not everyone, as you said already, wants to lean into their veteran self. And ironically, I was just having lunch with this really awesome dude. I just met another fellow Navy guy who's a photographer, and we were talking about that very thing. Like sometimes it takes us a minute, especially for me after transitioning out. I really didn't want to be known as a veteran. I just wanted to be a civilian. And so I think when we finally come back to it, and like I think for us it's a calling. Like I stepped back into my veteran self because I wanted to serve again. I wanted to serve my community, my fellow veterans again. If you have a calling to that, if that's something you like, or want to dip into, and you love the outdoors, give me a call. Let me know what I can do to help support you. And so, and that kind of feeds into your question, Mark, about where I see this going. I obviously think that this program is incredible. Mark, you do too.
I do.
I'm sure a grand audience would say the same. And how do we get there where it is available everywhere? And it's through advocacy work. On the back end, I'm doing stuff on the legislative side of things to make sure that the VA understands how important programs like this are to our veterans. But I also think it's partly we need to just keep talking about what we want. And I think the more of us that do that, and I know not everyone wants to step into the arena that way either, and my hat's off to anyone that can and does, but we have to talk about it more. We have to demand essentially what we want. And so the only way we do that is to grow our leadership. And so internally with the program, I'm looking for volunteers that want to step into a leadership role. I'm piloting one this spring. I got a few candidates, and the intention is it'll free me up. They'll go and do events just like I do, and it'll free me up to do more advocacy work so that I can find sustainable funding. I can, find legislators that are willing to look at legislation that's already been passed, that's now law, that isn't really being, there's no movement. There should be funding funneling down through the VA right now, but it gets into a very sticky political commentary, and I don't necessarily want to harp on that, but it is important to talk about. But I think to your point, Mark, I need to find other little chappies out there that are willing to get in nature with other vets. And if that's your calling and you want to know how to do it, I don't know if I have the right recipe. It could be I'm just a lucky guy, right place, right time. And I think partly that is the case. But I also think there is a formula. There is a foundation to be had, and I'm willing to share it without stipulation, without any strings. If you're truly trying to impact your veteran community, I would be an asshole if I did not step into that sphere with you and try and lift you up as best as I can.
If you don't mind me saying, and then I'm going to I'll come back to you, and then there's a couple comments, but you kind of glossed over and you didn't want to get political. I think this is one, and this is, look, Chappy and I don't agree on everything. We agree on a lot of things, and we kind of are, I kind of see what you're saying in some, and there's others where like, man, what are you smoking tonight? Go have another glass of wine, Mark, or whatever the commentary is. But this is the area, veterans. Again, how can you have a legitimate government if the government doesn't hold up its most basic contract with those men and women who voluntarily throw themselves into the breach time and time again? So I don't think it's political, Chappy. I mean, and I appreciate what you said, but I think, again, no one in DC really look. Okay, I got to check myself right there. I can't make a blanket statement like that. Let me rephrase it. There's very few people in DC who give a shit about veterans. I think there's a lot of people, another way of phrasing it, who wish veterans would just go away. And you could say, well, Mark, that's a really pessimistic thing to say. Well, everybody has their own individual experience. my individual experience over the last, almost 8 years now is, yeah, that is a horrible organization that needs to be torn down and built from the bottom up, and it needs to be built right. And because how can we have anything else? How can we expect anything else if we don't take care of those people who die on the field of battle for right or wrong or gloriously or, whatever? It doesn't matter. Those men and women are the ones who've taken a step forward and said, okay, I guess it's me. I'll go. I'll do that. So we need to take care of those people. Otherwise, we don't have anything. And so it isn't putting vets above anybody. Vets aren't any better than anyone or smarter or more handsome. Although the lighting was good, I think my new beard is pretty damn handsome. But other than that, we're just people, right? So you got to take care of them. So I appreciate what you said there, but for me personally, and I'm sorry, Chappy, you know me well. I don't want to ever let that go, because our elected officials on both sides of the BS political aisle are failing our veterans left and right. And, and it doesn't matter who's in charge. Do the right thing, or don't, so.
No, do. Yeah. Stop don'ting, because that's why we're here. That's why I'm, I would hope that under, better circumstances, I would not have to be so pessimistic about the care that we're given after serving through the VA. And
I may have misspoken.
I don't go ahead.
Well, and I may have misspoken. I may have led you in the wrong direction. I didn't quite mean it that way. I actually think that negative, to find the positive in the negative. The positive of the negative is because something that should exist doesn't. Men and women like you are stepping into the breach and doing this advocacy as civilians. And that's all, I guess, really what I was trying to, I did a bad job of it, but
no,
that's
you didn't.
Advocacy is important, man, because you're not going to get the help from the federal government. We're just not.
I hope you're wrong. We're not currently, but my job is partly on the back end trying to advocate for not only my program, but all the programs out there like mine that are underfunded, underutilized, and needs more sustainability and more visibility, really is what it comes down to. And I'm going to go to the chat, Mark, because
I was going to do that. I was going to do that.
Go, because I see some stuff there.
Was gonna be next. Finish your comment, and then I was going to go to the chat.
I finished. I'm good.
Okay. All right. Well, back to your program, and then whether it's Fox Squad, or just Arizona Trail Vets, but here, Angry Viking Veteran. Good to see you here tonight, AVV. Hard work is therapy. The gym helped me get my mind right. I didn't even know about programs like this. And that goes into me. So I like that comment, because on the personal level, that was the same thing. If I wouldn't have been lucky to have had family that I could fall back in and spend time in the woods, here, well, no, I'm not going to tell that geeky story yet, but no, that was so important to me. And then the next question is the same kind of thing. Matt, AR-15 step. I consider splitting wood as therapy. That's what I did. Same thing. Yeah. I used to call it caveman CrossFit. I'm dropping trees. I'm limiting them. I'm skidding them out. I'm bucking them. I'm throwing 8-footers. Dang right. Matt, thank you for saying that. Yeah,
I would love to piggyback on that, because I actually just bought like a steel splitter, because there's more times than not that we're using our saws out there, especially like the front country stuff, and we have some chunks of wood that we could absolutely buck or process. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna spend some money and get a good splitting axe and make that just part of camp chores, right? But I agree with you, Matt. I think I love splitting wood. It's so much fun. It's therapeutic. It warms you twice, right? That's the whole saying. But it's actually, definitely.
Well, no, I was sorry, because you can see me smiling, and my joke is like, no, if you burn firewood in your house, it doesn't warm you twice. It warms you like 20 times. Again, walking out to the wood, finding the tree drop. I mean, all of that is
that's true.
Hard labor, man. It's hard labor.
I'm just talking about splitting it and then cooking it, right? But I agree, Matt.
There's snippy javelinas in Chappy country, though.
Snippy javelinas. There are, man. Don't be scared, though. I'll protect you.
Comment there, or what is that then?
I don't know. Maybe it's just an observation. Quest Views, you're not wrong. Actually, I live in sort of a rural part of outside of Tucson in southern Arizona, and I had a pack come through the other night, scared the shit out of me. One of them was making a sound that sounded like a woman getting murdered, and I was like, my butt was so puckered until I saw him come down, and it just kept making this noise waddling down my street. I was like, what the hell is that? And once I realized that, it didn't necessarily give me a lot of comfort, but I was like, I had no idea that javelinas made that sound. It's a little creepy. Look it up.
Yeah, well, I actually wasn't sure. I was deferring to you. So,
Yeah.
okay,
No.
AVV's back. The VA doesn't really seem to care if it can be fixed with pills or a scalpel. AVV, my only point of contention is, from where I am, they only wanted to do it with pills. They didn't want to be holistic. They didn't want to find out the root of your problems. They didn't want to send you to surgery. They just went, here's some meds, take the meds. That's how it is where I live. So, Chappy, you want to respond to that at all?
I would agree. I think with you, Mark, not to be contrary to you, AVV, but unlike Mark, and I don't need to go into it too much, I actually have a really good VA in southern Arizona. And I've had multiple surgeries since I've gotten out through the VA, and they've treated me well. So I think, to your point, I think they do eventually. It's not like a fast process unless it's an emergency. I have gone under the scalpel for corrections, if you will, for not necessarily for therapy, but yeah, I agree about the pills, because I think that, again, this is not necessarily political, but we could probably go down a pretty big rabbit hole with who benefits to keep those pills flowing. And, let's face it, nature is free, and there's no money to be made, to prescribing nature. So I think that's one of the biggest hurdles.
They're fighting against medical marijuana. I mean, again, it's like there's no profit in there if you could just grow it yourself and then do it yourself. So yeah. And then Gene with a not so fun comment, because this is the other truth about it. If we look at all the money, if you want to be political, look at all the money we waste in the graft and corruption within our own government, within our own states, and then how much we send overseas for Lord only knows what. And we've got veterans living on the streets. Now, living on the streets sometimes can be a social disorder, a mental disorder. So providing a home doesn't necessarily fix the problem. But to Gene's point, the amount of vets, in the UK and the USA that sleep on the street and don't get any mental health. Yeah, it's way too many. It's way too many. There's always going to be people who are going to do it because that's what they want to do for their own reasoning, their own logic, their own mental issues. But yeah, so nature, Gene, and I'll turn this over to Chappy. That's the drug that is free, and it can do a lot of things for you. Chappy, thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I mean, I'm so grateful for Western medicine, right? Like that's part of the science bit where we've gotten to a place where we can pretty much not necessarily prevent, but to mitigate or what's the word? The meds that we have now are designed at such a level that, you can have many conditions that would probably kill you 20 years ago that are absolutely not necessarily curable, but you can function as manageable. Thank you. That was the word. And so I'm grateful for that. In fact, I mean, when I went through my last surgery, I was so grateful for having a strong pain medic. Not that I would take it, if I didn't need it, but you know what I mean? It was there and I had it. And so I was grateful for that. When I went to the ER recently, they gave me an IV pain med, and it was, I'm going to be vulnerable again. I fucking cried. And my nurse was like, "Why are you crying?" And I'm like, "Because I feel so taken care of right now. Like I'm in a comfortable space now. You mitigated my pain. I feel like I'm being well taken care of." And when you're giving yourself over, I don't know if any of you or you, Mark, have given yourself over to someone to fix or to help you. You could, it's a release. And that's what I think it was. It wasn't like I was sad. It was just, I was happy. Actually, I was like, "Oh my God, I feel better. I feel relief." So I think Holistic has a place to button this up. Holistic medicines have a place, like nature, like medical marijuana, psilocybin. We can go down the rabbit hole on that one. All the earthbound medicines, but Western
And
medicine has its place.
Don't forget going out in the woods with other like-minded individuals, working on a trail that everybody gets to enjoy, letting the campfire, all of that is still medicine, Chappy. That is
Amen.
right there.
100%. 100%. And it's not, I sort of, I'm not disagreeing with you, but I use caution when I call it therapy now, because I'm not a clinician, but I think it's therapeutic. And that's what and I can certainly start, if you ever come, there's an organic kind of flow that each evening has. And I sort of begin obviously as the moderator and giving some prompts and whatnot. But generally speaking, if someone needs to say something and get off their chest, they do it. And they feel comfortable enough to do it because we're all holding that same space, that same line for each other. And there's no doubt that everyone in that space at that moment is there for that person. And that's where I think we all just get addicted to being around each other, because we feel safe, we feel comfortable, we feel like we're being heard. And so all of that is therapeutic in nature, for sure.
And if I can just add a little personal anecdote, and then we'll kind of wrap up some of the chat for right now. And then I want to bring it back over to you on a different subject, but just even the conversations I have with Chappy, and if you're out there and if you're a veteran, and if you can find another veteran in your life that you can have a phone call with, I mean, my God, sometimes that's all it takes, is just getting some stuff off your chest. And you're like, because I mean, like, what do we used to say? If the soldiers aren't bitching, then we're not training. There's always going to be that, but you need to have that outlet, right? Because we can't be like our forefathers. World War II, they all came home and just shoved that stuff down. They didn't have anybody. I mean, maybe they did, but I just all of the individuals like my grandfathers, who were in war, and people from that generation, and then Korea as well, Vietnam as well too. They didn't really have anyone to talk to, and they just end up shoving that stuff down. And that's when you get into substance abuse and all kinds of other issues, homelessness and psychological issues. So just, having that right there, I think it's just it's so important. I can't stress it enough, in my opinion. But
well said, sir.
So, and then we had Matt chimed in, last comment, and then we'll move on to the next thing. Matt says the whole system, civilian or VA, pushes the pharmaceutical route. Yeah. And so I don't think it's political. This is an adult table conversation. I'm now so lucky I was able to get my primary care physician to be a civilian. And now that I've been in that system for about 2 years, I'm equally unimpressed. Matter of fact, I'm beyond unimpressed. I'm like, what the heck is going on in our world? This isn't healthcare. I have a lot of, medical training, but I don't pretend I'm a doctor, but I'm not an idiot. And I'm just, the things I hear, the things I see, and what you just said, Matt, and this is unfortunate. Chappy is so lucky. Anybody, if you've got a good VA, God bless you. Don't even move. Don't consider, if you sell your house, make sure you buy one where you can still go to that same VA, because that's not, in my experience and from the people I've talked to, that's the rarity, not the, the norm.
Yeah. It's the exception, not the standard.
Yeah. Exception. Yeah. And the standard should be, hey, let's actually try to figure it out. And I'm looking, in all fairness to the VA, because I'm now at my wit's end with my civilian company. If I have one more person who wants to prescribe a drug to me, I'm like, why are we doing this drug? Well, based on your symptoms, like, but you don't know what's wrong with me. Have we taken any tests to identify if this is cardiovascular? Is this pulmonary? And it could be for me. It could be pulmonary. I was in 9/11. I was covered in head to toe in that dust. Burn pits for so many people. Or is it musculoskeletal? My last VA doc was like, oh, it's musculoskeletal. And I just simply said, based on what? And he just looked at me like, what did you say? I'm like, based on what, doc? Based on what medical procedure or test are you basing this decision? Well, just from what I'm hearing from you. So you're going to prescribe me drugs for something that you really don't know. I mean, I can make up words too. I mean, that's all it was. It's just made up words at that point. There was no actual procedure to nail it down. Like, yeah, no, your C4 and C3 are just so pinched. It's causing all this damage coming radiating across your shoulders down into your arms. Yep. It can mimic, cardiovascular, but it's really this other thing. None of that. It was just, here's a drug. And quite often, to Matt, to your point, and I'm sorry for going on my own rant, because this is dear to my heart. This is why I love what Chappy does. Maybe I should have just been out there and doing more PT and get out in the woods more, and no matter how much pain it was causing me, just, the deal, suck it up, buttercup, get through the pain and you'll find relief on the other side, as opposed to, and I think that was, I'm not 100% sure because it's happened so many times. That may have been the time they were prescribing a pain med. And I look at it, and I'm not very good with the generic names. I know the clinical name, and I'm like, hang on a second, that's a fentanyl based drug. And they're like, yeah. I'm like, I don't want to take fentanyl. I'll drink another glass of wine. Are you kidding me? So to Matt's point, and I'm sorry, Matt, I guess we all know Mark's buttons right now, but I'm so tired of that pharmaceutical crap, Matt. Chappy, I see you smiling. I don't know if you're laughing at me rambling or you got something to say there. But
well, I'm used to it. I told you the Minnesotan goodbye is just like an hour or two long. But yeah, I mean, you're passionate, and I salute you for that. And I think it's important to continue to talk about. I just wish that, instead of just, shouting into the storm, like we could actually make that change somehow, and I think that's where the power of advocacy comes in again, and joining a group, and having almost like a union, if you will, so that we're a collective voice experiencing the same thing. I saw a comment from AVV, and he's talking about how it's not good for him either. And that breaks my heart, to be honest with you. I feel guilty. I feel like that survivor's guilt because I am one of those lucky vets that has a good VA. But I'll tell you, when I shared this with you, Mark, that when I was living in Western Colorado, my VA was at Grand Junction, and it was awful, dude. Like I actually went twice, and I should have probably gone at least a dozen times while I was living there over that year. And I just opted not to go because I just felt so unsatisfied and unheard, like you, where every time I went in, it was like I would meet with someone new who I had to tell my story to for the third or fourth or fifth time. And how is that effective? And so like I was like, well, I might as well just find a freaking doctor closer to me, pay for it, and hopefully I get better care. And that's another wormhole. But yeah, I hope that my optimism here, if you will, is that enough of us, we need to start petitioning. And I don't know how you feel about this, Mark, and we can disagree if you want, but I think we need to start some sort of advocation in the form of a group so that we have a collective voice. Because you're going into your exam rooms alone. I would rather go in there with you, or have 3 other vets going in there with you saying, I demand better. We deserve better.
Well, if I may, and that's a great point. And I don't disagree with you in the least bit. And somebody say, oh, you guys are communists. No, not at all. I mean, unions, you can agree and disagree with unions. I disagree with unions, but one of the strengths of unions is exactly what Chappy's talking about. Now, somebody could say, well, we already have programs, out there like this. Those are programs that are fed by the system. And then therefore they're not going to buck the system because that's who butters their bread, plain and simple. Right. And that's kind of what, AVV is talking about, but bringing it full circle. Chappy, that is exactly what you're doing. You are, whether you want to say you're on point or you're the tip of the spear, or you and groups like you are trying to at least, fight and gain attention and set the stage to bring at least awareness so we can advocate to correct it, because no one in DC is going to really, I mean, there'll be people who like, oh yeah, that's a good idea, but it's never going to move forward because they don't really care. They just don't. There's no glory or money or campaign donations in there for them. Right. But I just also have to mention one more time, I have to mention, I talked about 28th Veteran earlier. That's kind of a suicide prevention, working with vets. That's a great group. See, I just realized what I'm about to say, but let me just finish and I'll get back to this. And then there's a thing that I use, which another vet turned me on to, called Vets Guardian. And I should have probably been a little bit more prepared and had their stuff to put on the screen, but I actually am a customer of Vet Guardian. The veteran system is so screwed up that there is a need, not just a need, but a viable economic market for civilian companies to represent you, the veteran, as you go through your claim process and as you go through your medical. That's how messed up it is. There should not be a civilian company in existence to assist me in working with the VA to process my claim or to get my medical attention. Should not exist. That's how broken the system is. So let's talk about what you do, and what we're doing and how I want to help you and to help fix that, because that's advocacy right there. I mean, unless you want to just chime in on that last comment there,
No, man, I think you hit it. And I think, to bookend it, the one team, one fight mentality. Yeah, we may not be, petitioning, together, but your support, and that's why I'm on here, Mark, your support means the world to me and to the veterans that I serve, because you are creating a more forward-facing and accessible experience for these veterans, because every piece of gear that you donate gets used and abused.
Let's take that back and talk about what we're going to do, because we haven't mentioned it. I haven't mentioned that anyway.
Okay.
Well, I did it in that short video today. I kind of started it with that short today.
I saw that. That was good. I just watched that. I reposted it for you. But yeah, I mean, it's no secret. I've been a fanboy from Centerline for probably like that 2 to 3 year mark. I was always researching ways to carry equipment, specifically in the backcountry, more effectively and efficiently, and all the stuff that's out there right now, coming from a gear nerd background at REI. The stuff that's out there, it's good for recreating, but not necessarily for trail work. And so I think we are looking, or I was looking for, like that Cordura fabric. And obviously you type in some keywords there, you're going to find Mark's stuff. But specifically, what turned me on was the saw pouch. And I was like, oh, hell yeah, I want that on my pack. And so reaching out to Mark and, not really looking for a handout, but
that was the first time we met. It
was
and a big boy.
I called you and I was like, this is what we do. Yeah. And you were like, cool. And I think I wouldn't say convincing, but I was like, I'm sure, you told me you get a lot of solicitations for gear, and I was not expecting, obviously, where we're at now. Is just, it blows my mind every time we do one of these things or we talk on the phone, because it's like we've been friends for years now, truly, but also like it's built on a foundation of this shared love and commitment to our veterans. And I think that's why I appreciate so much what you and your staff do to enable our veterans that I'm fortunate enough to take into the backcountry. We have really solid gear, in addition to what we carry, but also how we carry it, how we represent too. Let's face it, I'm not going to lie, coming from the Southwest, Mark knows this, I'm a multicam Arid fanboy, and that kind of drew my line of sight to those. Like, I can get that pouch in that colorway. Hell yeah, I'm on board. But it creates this uniform effect. Like, we're all carrying pieces of Mark's gear out there, and we're representing. And so when they see it, they go, "Oh, these guys are legit." It adds like a professionalism, but also that air of military, service, if you will,
teamwork,
cohesion. It's it's uniform, but it's also like these guys know what they're doing, and obviously they have all of this gear to support these types of evolutions, which is what it's really all about. Because we can go into the gear, Mark, but I think what our grand envisioning is of our collaboration eventually is to create accessibility for veterans that don't have the right gear and that I potentially can't supply or afford to give them. And so it is for those individuals that we're serving to get them your amazing kit. And then hopefully it stands I'm sure it'll stand. I'm sure a nuclear bomb wouldn't destroy these pieces, but like these guys, I want. You're right. It's not. I'm being facetious.
We've already had a couple people who've taken our gear into combat, and they
nuked
actually do blow up. They do burn and blow up.
They do blow up.
Sorry.
Well, we're not going to do that, but we will. We will destroy them in other ways. As far as like what the Arizona landscape does to gear, it's pretty significant. Not just with the heat and the sun, but also everything out here wants to hurt you, bang you, scratch you, poke you. It's an unforgiving landscape. So we really do need top-notch quality gear that provides not only that air of professionalism, but also like these guys are prior military. And so like what I really envision ultimately is when people hike, which is all the time while we're working, they see us. We're all in the same gear. Like we have a uniform hoodie with our logo embroidered on the sleeve. We generally have the same colorway backpack. So we look like a freaking crew, like a wildland firefighter crew. And I love that because it allows everyone to kind of give this reverence to this crew. And especially when they ask questions like, what are you guys doing out here? And like, oh, well, other than the loppers in my hand and the saw in my pouch, like we're out here building and maintaining this trail that you seem to enjoy. And you're providing, and we're providing experiences for veterans to do that. And then they go, damn, that's cool. And, I'm waiting for that Jeff Bezos on the trail or something where he's just like, what are y'all doing? And I'm just like, well, this is what we're doing. And then he goes, cool. And I get back and I have a phone call or an email waiting for me for a huge angel donation. And I know that's selfish, but it's like, if any of you on the call here, or you even, Mark, I'm sure the last thing you want to see happen is your life's work go to the wayside after you're no longer here, like the legacy bit. And I know that might be grandiose, but I also feel like I will be able to sleep well. I'll be able to leave this world if I know that I can hand this over to someone, hand the keys to the castle to someone that wants to take up this mantle and see it continue. And the last thing I'll say is I would hate for this to die essentially for something as stupid as money or not having enough of it. And I think between all of the collaborations that we can cultivate out there, we can find a sustainability piece, but it's just going to take time. And so I'm so grateful that we're in the trenches together. We're working through trudging through the process until we do find sustainable funding. But it also is going to be knocking on to go back to the VA, it's going to be knocking on the White House door and saying, we demand better. We deserve better. Nature is healing. Give me some fucking money. Sorry to be crass, but that's what it's all about. Like, we just have to be a little bit more focused on the ask, and it's making it simple. But I think too many of us, like Angry Viking was like, I didn't even know programs like this exist. Well, why the hell not? It should be known. That should be part of the plan when you transition and separate. So, I think it starts with just shouting from the rooftops. And when we get the right ear down in the valley, they will continue to spread that messaging. But I think it's messaging first, and then hopefully the sustainability piece comes, because, man, I mean, money is power, but also it would provide more veterans, honestly, employment opportunities. And that's what I envision too, is that I know I don't want to do this alone. I want to see someone in your neck of the woods, Mark. Like I want to see someone take on a program up there and build it up and take veterans out. I want to see other people all over the country doing this and working directly with the VA and their local representatives to ensure these programs stay in existence as long as they need to, which is probably going to be forever. But I can go on and on, Mark, but I think ultimately what I value about this relationship with Centerline is that we share the same values. We understand why we are doing what we're doing. And you're obviously getting gear into people's hands that really appreciate the craftsmanship that you have, but also what you do to give back to your community, like through the VETS program. You're putting your money where your mouth is. You're giving back where you can. And I so sincerely appreciate what you're doing. And I'm frankly humbled by it.
Oh, Hey, man, you wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be talking to you if it wasn't reciprocal and if it wasn't worth doing. And on that note, I mean, we're not done. We're going to have Chappy on more times. We're at an hour, and I'm going to start the Minnesota goodbye right now so we can get out of here in an hour and 15 minutes. But Chappy, we have so much more to talk about. Again, I'm kind of stopping it now because otherwise we will do a 3 hour, and I cannot let Learn Me Something rub it in my face about going long, or Quest Views, AK Blackbeard, talk about the Minnesota goodbye. So, I'm going to gloss over some of the things you said, which look, boys and girls, go back and watch and listen to what Chappy just said again, and start thinking about it, and then start thinking about why doesn't that happen? Look, I've had major surgeries. How is the VA not reaching out to me and saying, hey, you've just had some major surgeries. Are you okay? How are you doing for mobility, your life? Can you even get groceries? Again, none of these things really care about you. So it's got to be the advocacy, and it's got to be us, boys and girls, that look out for each other. And on that note, I'm trying to look out for Chappy and what he's doing. So we're in that short video I just posted today in the shorts. I pointed out, I'm putting snaps and stuff. I'm making a bunch of gear for Chappy. Our goal, and some of the gear I got to defer to Chappy, so I'm going to send some gear to Chappy that I think he could use. Again, I can take a step back, look at it from both somebody who has done this type of outdoor work, but also from the military. But it's really Chappy and his program. So, Chappy, I don't know if we want to. Well, you want to talk about that a little bit, but just stay tuned. We're going to have more videos as we go through this process. Like, I'll have another video as we're sewing stuff. I'll have another video showing the first tranche of gear that we're sending out. Some of the gear we're sending out, we automatically know it's going to go on the kit for the Fox Squad. Some gear Chappy's got to look at and see if it works for Fox Squad or if it, works for the program. And then we can add to it or subtract or whatever. So, and I saw in the chat, and this is where I'm going to, so just real quickly, this will bear with me. AVV had a good point. Yeah, they do pitch a fit. And yeah, and if you got a background, they really hate you. You are absolutely right.
Yes, they do.
But here's what I got here. Well, and then AVV again, Vets helping vets should be a no-brainer. And
right?
It should be a no-brainer. You're absolutely right. It should be. This isn't
especially those that want to do it. I mean, that's the thing is if we want to continue to serve our fellow brothers and sisters, don't step in the way of that. Find them a job. Give them the platform.
And look, my stupid story wasn't to be look at me. It's like, no, you just had a back surgery or a hip surgery. You're going to be, pretty much on your own for, or immobile, not very transitory for a couple months. Hey, do you got a good support network? Are you going to be able to get, that kind of stuff? It's something that should just happen naturally. And now here's where I'm going to go as we kind of wrap it up there. We got two comments that kind of tie in. And we're at an hour and 10 minutes, a minute 10. We're at a minute 10.
Here we go.
It does seem like we've only been talking for a minute. I just love these conversations with you and the guys we get on the After Dark. And thanks to everybody in the chat. You guys are making it lots of fun, and it's very informative, and I hope you like it. But so right there, time for a raffle, Mark, so we can help Chappy. Well, so stay tuned. So Chappy, do you want to talk about the master plan, about the gear I'm getting out to you and what we're trying to do? Because the gear is part of what we're trying to do, and that kind of goes into what Gene just said right there. You want to, or is it too early? Do we want to give it away now? Or
I mean, I think because we could do probably a whole nother stream on just that. So I'll just tease him and say,
okay,
I've seen what Mark's got concocted. We've talked about it at a few lengthy Minnesota goodbye conversations about the gear. It's been a lot of fun, and truly, if you think about someone truly being outfitted with Mark's gear in being able to carry it in the backcountry, and I know all of you have seen what the capabilities are. Think of that geared towards someone that's maintaining trail. That's what we're looking at collaborating on, really, is to outfit a group of vets that have a setup that allows it to be modular, that allows it to accomplish the mission that we're doing usually. And we got to be pretty robust, and that's really, where when he talked about like if it's going to work or not, if because we usually take out between 50 and 60 pounds worth of stuff, and that could mean a lot of water, it could mean food, but it's usually the tools that we have to bring, to accomplish those tasks. So I don't want to spoil it, because I think go watch Mark's video, take a look at what he's sewing up, and it's going to be awesome. We're going to do some more collaboration videos to showcase what this is, and ultimately down the road you're going to see if you come to Arizona, you're going to see a group of vets on the trail that are just kitted out with centerline systems, and it couldn't be I'm a lucky boy. And so are these others that are out there going to be with me.
And I just got to say it out loud, for me, I have to get on the website and pull the multicam arid from all the products, because all the multicam arid that I have remaining, and I'm going to have to buy some more to continue doing this, both in webbing and Kadura. That's only going to be for AZTVETS, Arizona Trail. Even going to offer it on the website. That is your color scheme going forward, my good man.
Can't see it, but I'm blushing.
And I'm serious. Stay tuned. We are going to have Chappy back on very soon to talk a little bit more, because I don't want to like just blow past that comment that he had, like, hey, I'm a raffle. Oh, we're thinking about exactly this. And I can't speak for Chappy. It's got to be his call when he wants to make some of these comments, but just stay tuned. We're working towards, we have a very, I guess we're being military, we're being vets. We're thinking about, okay, here's what we want to do. How do we get there? And we're doing task and purpose and everything. So I don't know, Chappy, if you want to add to that, but add to that and then learn me something, because regardless of what you and I are doing, learn me something's asking, is there another way that they can donate, or like, are your hoodies for sale or something like that?
No, that would be cool. No, I would love, but that's sort of like, I don't want to sell those, because that's more of a uniform for us. But yeah, I've been asked about like shirts and stuff, and that could be down the road. But again, it's all about funding, right? Like, we don't have the means to create those things on demand. So, we're really, and that goes to the point, we're really putting all the money that we're getting into the programming, and not trying to I know raising funding is important, but as Mark, to create the swag, it costs a little bit up front, and we don't even have that capital, unfortunately. But to answer Learn Me Something's question, I did try and drop a link into the chat. It's not letting me for some reason, but if you go to the Arizona,
nope, I can help you here. Give me a sec.
Sure. Okay, I'll wait.
Yeah, give me a sec.
I'm going to drop a link here, and that'll take you directly to.
Can you guys see that, Chappy? Oh, why did it not share?
What am I seeing?
Here we go. Now I got it.
Did it go?
Is that, can we show that, or is that the wrong?
Yeah.
one?
So let me guide you.
Right.
Go to programs, and that should bring a drop down bar.
Oh, gotcha.
You see
That's
the green.
Got it.
Yep. So go to VETS program, and then down at the bottom it says support the program / donate.
Okay. Give me a second, everybody.
So if you, you're
there,
good. So if you go to the website, go scroll down, and it'll give you. So there's a couple ways you can donate. Obviously, money. We'll always take your money, of course. But if you want to support us other ways, I do have a little bit of gear as well. If you want to, send me a piece of gear, if that's something like more you want to do, or at least it's more comfortable doing. We always need like sleeping bags and tents, and of course there's some really awesome gear out there, like trail tools that they're very pricey, but they're more modular, kind of like Mark's stuff, that are a little bit lighter and better equipped for backcountry elements, like we're doing with the Fox Squad. So yeah, take a look at the page, and of course there's more information about the program there itself. I'm planning on getting some photos and videos up there too, but yeah, it gives you a good overview. And of course, since we're doing the plugs, I'll just say, if you go on to our Instagram, AZTVETS is our handle. A lot of information on there too, and we try and keep it as unbiased and authentic as possible. It's not too flashy, but I think it tells a good story about where we came from and where we're currently at now with our programming. Pretty proud of it.
And I kind of screwed up here just a little bit. Yeah, we're gonna have to do more. Matter of fact,
Yep.
the next time I'll drink my glass of wine. Do you guys still do the buy the cup donation thing? I don't want to speak out loud about it if it's not being offered anymore. Is that still a thing?
I think it's still a thing. I don't know if we've ever done like buy me a drink style donations, but
there was one of those, but there was also the coffee.
Oh, you're talking about the mug. Yeah, I think we do still have some mugs. Yeah. So just know that, even though if you accidentally, and I say that loosely, donate to the trail or to the Arizona Trail Association, it's all going to the same place. But of course, if you do it under my program page, they'll know specifically that you're donating to the VETS program, and you can certainly specify that too. But with the mug, we create a ceramic mug. I don't have one on me, or else I'd show it to you. But
we'll do it next time. I have one.
Yeah, they're pretty awesome.
Yeah, I donated, and then I realized afterwards what you're just saying. I'm like, oh, it's still the same program, and I have a mug. I'll drink wine out of my Arizona Trail mug next time. So if you make a donation over a certain dollar amount, you get a free mug, and it's a really cool, like no joke, old school ceramic, handmade, type of mug. It's pretty badass. It's a really good morning coffee mug, type of thing.
Hell yeah,
it is. I'm sure wine will.
Everything tastes good out of it.
Yeah, right.
Oh, I see one more question from.
I was just going to pop that up, and then let's kind of start wrapping it up here. Yep.
So honestly, and thank you first and foremost for considering to donate. I'm going to leave it to you. Learn me something, like whatever you are comfortable with. We need both, but obviously money spends, it'll go right back into. So if you I would say if you want to support the gear side of things, donate a piece of gear. If you like that idea, it's still something and vital to the program. Or if you want to maybe think about, if you donate money going in directly to support an actual event like that we do, that could be your way to justify which one makes the most sense for you. But it's all going to a good place, sir or ma'am. I don't know. Has learned me something. I guess it doesn't matter. That's the gummy talking. I told you.
I actually just realized I could have fun with that, but I'm just going to let it go.
I know. Yeah.
Let it go.
Just came out of my mouth.
I don't want him sneaking in my house in the middle of the night and killing me.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to let it go. Just going to let it go. All right. Hey, final comments on your part. Otherwise, let's start wrapping it up. Again, our Minnesota goodbye is already 17
I know.
minutes, so,
we're there. We're there. Yeah.
But I like it, but you're coming
There's
back.
Like at least three. There's at least three goodbyes wrapped into that one, that final goodbye. But yeah, I don't know.
I didn't know there was
usually I've counted before. It's usually like 3 to 4, to be honest with you, but average is about 3. Minnesota.
Maybe Angry Viking Veteran can help me out. I didn't know we had.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know, man.
On Minnesota goodbyes.
I don't want to draw this out, but I'm in a good spot, and I got to thank you for that, Mark, because this is therapeutic for me too, brother. And thank you for having me. I'm actually looking out my window. The sun is setting. I got some clouds. I got a true southwestern sunset happening right now, and I'm sending just good vibes to you, man, from across the country, and all of you watching as well. I hope this was informative. I can't wait to be back on and talk more about what this collaboration ultimately is going to look like, concluding around summertime. And I'm just all I can say is I'm grateful, Mark. Thank you for having me.
Chappy has a plan, and we are executing. So stay tuned. Hands inside the ride. This isn't the last conversation with Chappy. We'll have more content coming out. We'll be sharing more. It's a very look. Anytime you can help out anybody who's trying to help out veterans, you had me at hello. I'm good to go. So as long as they're a legitimate organization, and this man is legit. And on that note, once we wrap this up, I'll call him up for the after action review, and then we'll probably sit there and talk for like an hour about whatever.
I'm going to eat the other half of my gummy probably.
There you go. There you go.
There you
All
go.
Right, final comments on you, sir. I'm going to take a look at the chat for last little shout outs, and then we'll wrap it up.
Yeah. Again, I think I'm looking at the comments too. Everything, just appreciation from this end of the country, and any of you veterans. I'll just say this. How about this? any of you vets on the line right now, I think Viking is the one, obviously, in his handle. But if any of you are listening, man, go find something. Don't stay quiet. Speak up. Ask for help. Get on the trail. Go touch the ground, the grass, whatever it is. Nature is, I know we talk shit about prescriptions, but I do believe nature is the perfect prescription. So however that looks like for you, go after it. And of course, honestly, my phone number is on all of my literature. And it's not like, like Mark says, a call center. It's me. I am the program. And if you need to talk, you want to get more information about this, you want me to even network with you or help you find what makes sense for you, I'm here. So just know you got a brother from Arizona.
And I can just, if you're watching this, maybe we've never had a beer together, but I've never had a beer with Chappy. I'm looking forward, and I want to create an environment where I can have a beer with Chappy, because this is one of the good guys. So seriously, when he says it, reach out to him. I know he's going to back. He puts his money where his mouth is. And on that note, for a charity, I like what you just said. If you're going to do a shirt or a hat or a sticker or something, Arizona Trail Vets, and then across the top, nature is the prescription. And then it's the trail in the woods. You heard it here first. That would be a cool t-shirt, cool imagery, a trail going off in your environment. And it just says nature is the prescription, no oxycodone, no fentanyl, no mother friggin' nature, man. Period.
Mother friggin' nature.
We've set some first here.
You've heard it here first.
On the Minnesota goodbye. We're wrapping it up.
See, that's number 3. I told you, I'm not wrong.
I know, and I'm gonna get so much shit from Learn Me Something in Black.
Good,
so I gotta
good. You deserve every inch of it, buddy.
I probably do. I really do in the grander zen.
Don't we all, though? Don't we all?
Hey,
all right.
But thank you for everybody watching. Thanks so much to everybody in the comments, in the chat here tonight. Love you guys. Good questions. Really appreciate it. And for everybody who watches on demand, seriously, Chappy is not joking, and neither am I. If you have questions or comments, and there's a way we can help you, like I can push you in, and point you into contact with Chappy, or reach out to Chappy directly. We've already shown his website. You've got all the information. But it's this type of advocacy. I really do believe this. And that's why I really love Chappy and his organization, what they're doing. We need more of this. This is how we're going to, at least, maybe we can't solve the problem, but this is how the problem starts getting noticed. And then maybe, we can fix it from there. Maybe it's something that never gets fixed. Boys and girls, as veterans, maybe that's just part our unfortunate lot in life. Yep. We're the guys who volunteer to do the hard, and then we get treated like shit. Wear it with a badge of honor, because there'll always be somebody like Chappy who doesn't agree with that and wants to make sure we can do things to help you out. So you're not alone, is what I'm trying to say. You are not alone.
Right. That's right.
My
one
final
team, one
comments.
fight.
You can't quite see it. So we didn't do a giveaway tonight. Stay tuned in the other live streams and in the other videos. This is a can of awesome Bega cheese. It's from Australia. I'm going to be giving this stuff away quite a bit this year.
It's good.
Well, yeah. Chappy knows it's good. So.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, I got one. It's good.
All right. Anybody else in the chat? Final comments? We got a couple things here. Thank you. Here, let me just pull those up real quickly.
Yep.
Gene says at least it's not 4 o'clock in the morning. Matt, AR15, thanks for the show. Thanks for showing up here tonight, Matt. I really appreciate it. Coconut Smokes. Hey, thanks for joining. Have a great night. Thank you, Coconut Smokes.
Yeah.
Right?
Good to have you.
Yeah, good to have you, sir. Learn me something. Thanks, gentlemen. God bless you too, sir. Gene with the big woo at the end. Thanks for a great night. Gene, always with the woo. Thank you. All right, boys and girls, that's going to wrap it up for CLS After Dark tonight. Look at that stuff. Reach out to Chappy. Reach out to me. We already said that stuff. Thanks for watching. Appreciate the comments. Stay tuned. Chappy's going to be on again soon, because we've got a lot more to talk about man, Chappy, we're kind of like a tease here at the end. We haven't really said.
No, you got to keep them wanting for more, dude. So keep them hungry.
Right. Stay hungry, boys and girls.
Stay hungry.
In the future. If you got questions, comments, reach out. I'll do the best I can to help you out. Until then, as always, you know the deal. Get them ready, Gene. Keep thinking, keep moving, never quit. All right, everybody, be good. We'll see you next time. Woo!
Woo!